She lived in an old house on the outskirts of the city, in an apartment with high ceilings and a narrow window from which, in the evenings, the dim lights of the street could be seen. Her days flowed calmly, almost identically, but not lonely. She had a friend. He came often, sometimes in the morning, when the sun was still soft and the air smelled of fresh bread from the nearby bakery. Sometimes in the evening, when the room's walls trembled with reflections from the street lamps. They would sit together at the table, drink tea, talk. She laughed at his jokes, and he listened to her long stories about childhood, about books, about dreams. She said that she felt calm beside him, that with him she could be silent and not feel emptiness. Sometimes he brought flowers, simple wild ones, and she placed them in a glass by the window. Sometimes they simply walked along the old alley where the maples stood like sentries and the wind whispered something endlessly ancient and kind in their crowns. Sometimes they were seen together. Passers-by said they were a beautiful couple, she fragile, in a long coat, with thoughtful eyes, and he tall, slightly leaning toward her as if listening to her every word. No one knew his name, but everyone knew he existed. She often told her neighbor that in the evenings they cooked dinner together, laughed, listened to old records. She said that sometimes they quarreled, but made up quickly, that he had a quiet voice and gentle hands. Months passed, and then people in the house began to whisper, at first quietly, then more confidently. Someone said they had never seen anyone enter her apartment. Others claimed that in the evenings her voice could be heard, calm, soft, but no one answered her. One day the janitor clearing snow said he had seen her walking along the alley talking to herself. Her lips were moving, her eyes full of warmth, as if someone really stood before her, but no one was there. Later the neighbor visited her. The girl was sitting by the window. 2 cups of tea stood before her. One was steaming, the other long cold. She smiled and said she was waiting for her friend, that he would come any moment. The neighbor nodded silently, stepped outside, and stood for a long time in the stairwell, unable to walk away. And so it became clear that he had never come. No one had ever seen him. No one had heard his voice. Everything she had told, everything she had felt, lived only in her heart. She had created him out of loneliness, out of longing for someone who could understand, woven him from silence, from waiting, from the light of the evening window, and now she could not live without him. In the evenings, she is still seen by the window. She talks, smiles, sometimes waves, as if someone truly stands on the threshold. People pass by and do not look. They are afraid. And in the room there are still 2 cups, and one of them is always cold.